And guess what? You are now plugged into the power surge. Now tuned into the future shock, future shock, future shock. Hot takes we debate is the future shock, future shock, future shock. IWC, it's the future shock, future shock, future shock. Get your news here first, it's the future shock, future shock, future shock.
This is referee Dan Fitzgerald, and you are now watching the Future Shock Wrestling Podcast. Get plugged into the power surge.
This is Nasty Leeway, aka That Man, aka That Nasty Man, and you are tuned in to the Future Shock Podcast, and you're plugged in to the power surge. Now, listen to this podcast and don't be a rat bastard.
This is your boy, the Cardinal Nick Thompson, the current IWA Explosive Division Champion, and you are now watching the Future Shock Wrestling Podcast, and you are now plugged in to the Power Surge. Tweet!
What's going on, everybody? It's your friend of neighborhood wrestling content creator and digital media champion, BJ Dixon. I'm here to talk to you guys about our sponsor, Pop Mania. Pop Mania is a website created by our good friend and brother, Cam Lewis, who created this game, and he has a ton of different options for your game playing pleasure. He has Pick'em, where you can do predictions. He also has Higher or Lower, which suggests that whichever wrestler that you pick, whether they're higher or lower, will depend on the one that you're picking. And then, like, you will have if your streak continues, you will be on the leaderboard. You also have trivia games from Pop Mania as well. You also have a versus draft. You have a pick your GOAT. You have what's called Ring the Bell. Ring the Bell is the game where you essentially play with your friends and you pick different wrestlers and you see which ones are better when it comes to your picks, and then whoever has the better picks wins. You also have another game that is called Build Your GOAT. Who do you think has the intangibles to be the greatest of all time? We'll find out in Build Your GOAT. You also have your shows and you have your leaderboard. If you guys are on the leaderboard, that means you've scored the highest. So I want to thank Pop Mania for sponsoring this podcast. And you guys can use my code, PowerSurge77, for all your game playing pleasures. Play on, everybody.
Welcome to the Future Shock. This is the Indie Spotlight, highlighting the best in independent wrestling.
What's going on, everybody? It's your friend neighborhood wrestling content creator, Benjamin J. Dixon. And today, our guest is none other than EszGotBarz. Listen, this gentleman is an independent hip-hop artist. He's a podcaster. He's a phenomenal businessman as well. Father, a husband, so many other things, man. And I'm so glad, man, to talk to him about his life, his wrestling fandom, his music, the various business ventures that he's a part of, and just to talk about, man, things like mental health and things like that, because he's into that as well. So I'm more than elated to have my good brother, EszGotBarz, on the show today, and I cannot wait to hear what stories he's going to tell and the wisdom he's going to share with each and every one of us. Peace, y'all, and welcome to the Indie Spotlight. What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Future Shock Wrestling Podcast. You have now stepped into the Indie Spotlight. First of all, guys, like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for the support. All glory to God. Listen, we got my guest today, EszGotBarz, from on the Ring Ropes and Turnbuckles podcast, along with his tag team partner, the Darkwing Dub. Even though Dub isn't here, but he's here in spirit. But EszGotBarz, what's going on with you, sir? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate the introduction, man. I really, really do, man. I appreciate the introduction, man. That was dope, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, without further ado, let's get into these questions for you, man. So, for those just meeting you for the very first time, who is Scott Bars?
All right, so EszGotBarz is basically known for many names. When I first started in this, I was known as S. You know what I mean? For most of the people that grew up with me around the way, I was known as S. I was known as At for many, many years. I grew up in Atlantic City, New Jersey, moved to the Ville later on, and I was known as S. Then later on, you know what I mean, due to some copyrights and things like that, I had to make the adjustment to S. Purdue, which is my government last name. But it was only temporarily to what you see right now, EszGotBarz, and that's permanent. And you know, the whole podcasting thing and stuff like that. But I'm pretty sure we'll get into all that. But let me just put it to you like this. I'm a man who wears many hats. That's who EszGotBarz is. I'm a man who wears many hats. Basically by not by choice, you know what I mean? Kind of just like I kind of just like taught myself how to do everything besides, you know, the music thing. The music thing, I did have mentors in that, but I taught myself how to draw. I taught myself how to do graphic design. Then I went to school for it. Everything else was just self-taught, you know. So that's who EszGotBarz is, a man who wears many hats and a master at all of them.
Yo, that's a dope story, Bars. Listen, you grew up in Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Mhm.
So, what was life like for you, and how did it shape the person you are today?
I mean, well, honestly, you know, I grew up on the inlet side of Atlantic City. For those of y'all who grew up around the inlet, you know that's the boardwalks. That's next to the beach or whatever. But it's not the tourist attraction that we all know it to be now. It was rough. It was rough back there. You know what I'm saying? Uh, like inlet is like very near uptown. So you know what I mean. I had to like you know take a little hike just to get to school or whatever. For those who know uptown complex, you know what I'm saying. So like the inlet is uptown. It was. And put it to you like this: it wasn't no bed of roses in the inlet. You know, you had your ups, you had your downs. You know, grew up in Metropolitan Plaza apartments, and I was there a good portion of my childhood, and then as I got into my preteens, that's when I moved to Pleasantville. But yeah, man, it wasn't no cup of tea, man. You've seen a lot, went through a lot, you know, and let me just put it like this. It was a lot of things going on in the inlet. A lot of things like I might have to just tell you off camera. Like it was wild back there. You know what I'm saying? For those of you who grew up around the inlet with me, y'all know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? It was something else. But yeah, it was some things I can't even tell my mother. God rest her soul. But yeah, it was something else back there.
Yo, that's crazy, Bars. Like, cause I know that you grew up in a African household, right? So I know that your mother didn't play no games.
Oh
I
hell
know she did.
no!
I know she didn't play no games. I
Listen,
know she didn't play no games.
listen. Let me tell you something. Anybody who grows up in the African household in general, I'm not talking about a Black American household. I'm talking about an African household. You understand? African parents don't play no game. You understand? Y'all seen the Obafemi interview with Stephanie McMahon? Everything he said is facts. African parents do not play. You understand what I'm saying? My mom was on my helmet every day. You know what I mean? Like she didn't play no games. So if I ever thought about roaming the streets, you understand? Like she would have been on my helmet as soon as like she had me scared for my life, bro.
Yeah, because I got the reason why I say that, y'all, because I got one of my brother's best friends is Nigerian.
Mhm.
So I know how that life is. I know how that life is. Cause like 'cause
Yeah.
they should be like engineer, like the people because people say you need to be an engineer. Like I would hear stuff like that all the time.
It's a facts. It's a facts. Everything like I go back. I'm using the Obafemi's interview as a prime example.
mm-hmm,
Like African parents, Nigerian parents in general, ain't thinking about nobody going into no sports entertainment. If you got into sports and you made it, like Oba or Akeem Olajuwon or any of these Nigerian athletes, it was rare. You were a special human if you got into it and you made it to the tippy top. But it's rare. Most of the times you see, especially the Yoruba people and the Hausa people, you're gonna see them in the education field. You're gonna see them a lot in the entertainment field. Which Obafemi, if you follow his background, he's Yoruba. I promise you, guarantee he's a Yoruba guy. You know what I mean? You see them in those type of facets, but you'll always see them with an education degree. 9 times out of 10, I bet you Obafemi got an education degree or some form of degree that if he retired from wrestling tomorrow, he could fall back on and still make his bread. You know what I mean? It's rare you see a Nigerian just straight make it into like the field that you see we are in with the music and the content creating and stuff like that. If you see them make it, that means they a special person. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, man. I said, yo, like, and just briefly, can you just speak on the how can I put this? The way that your parents and your mother instilled in you that hard work and that resilience to just do something greater than what you were doing in terms of like kind of you obviously like most kids like you probably roamed the streets and did some things and wilded out a little bit but like what about her teachings really stuck with you even as you became a man.
All right, so my mom's teachings, man, like for one, I had a great relationship with my mother. Let me just put that out there. Regardless of how strict my mother is, I had a great relationship with my mother. Um, Her teachings were basically she was very, very, very westernized and open-minded to everything. I'm the only child from my mother, you know what I mean? So I grew up in a single parent home, but I grew up around a lot of uncles. I had like a lot of uncles. So like everybody was on my head. You get what
Mm,
I'm saying?
I
So if
feel
I
you.
didn't if I didn't move forward and succeed at what I'm supposed to do in life, I would have still have them on my helmet today. Uh she instilled a lot of values. She instilled structure. She was like constantly like telling me not to settle, keep striving, keep elevating. And those are the type of things that stayed in my head as I kept growing up through life. You understand? And she's actually the one that predicted me to be in the fields that I'm in right now. She predicted it herself. You know what I mean? As a kid, if you're in sports, you want to grow up and be a basketball player, baseball, football, whatever. I
Hmm.
was heavily into sports as I got older. I didn't get into sports until late. I think I started playing basketball when I was like 11. So I got into sports when I was late. I was mostly into the stuff that you see us doing right now. You know what I mean? I liked art. I could draw really well. All those type of things. You know what I'm saying? Gaming. That was me.
Hmm.
I didn't really get into athletic stuff until later, and that's because I was tall as I don't know what. You know what I mean? So I kind of got pushed into that, and then once my mother seen me going into that, she kind of pushed me to work hard, and vice versa. You know what I mean? So yeah.
So I'm gonna flash forward with you for a second. So how did you come into the mix with hip hop? And how did you meet hip hop, or how did hip hop meet you? If I
Well,
if I can put it like this.
you know what you know what? I kind of got into hip hop around the same time I started doing sports. You know what I mean? Like I started writing. I wrote in my first rhyme when I was 11 years old, uh, and I had people that I looked up to as far as like the hip hop space. You know, there was a lot of DJs in our area. My god brother was a DJ. They used to call him a Trouble Man. They used to call him Trouble Man or DJ Freeze. So he used to DJ locally around the area and outside the area. So I used to uh I used to go with him because I was so grown looking for my age, you know what I mean? I used to go with him to all the spots where he'll DJ at, and I used to carry his records. And I'm talking about he had all the latest songs and everything. So I used to carry his records, and I'll go be like, you know, his understudy. So I'll go out there and carry his records, and he'll play this song, that song, and then when he'll go on a little break, he'll let me tag in, and then I'll start cutting and mixing. And that's kind of how I got introduced to hip hop. And then I started the writing in between, but I never was really good at writing. You know, I didn't really start getting like the art of writing until I was like 16 or 17. You know what I mean? So once I got the gist of how to put bars together, and that's when I started taking off with that.
Yo, bars, that's dope. So like, who, if I can, who were the rappers or the lyricists that inspired your pen? Because I know a lot of rappers in the tri-state area really big on Rakim and LL Cool J, all those different guys. But who were the guys from maybe from the Jersey area that were really big in terms of your inspiration, in terms of what you thought about when it came to hip hop?
All right, so the pit, like honestly, I didn't start really like knowing about the local scene until I got older. So like the only people that were around me as far as musically was the people that I grew up with, you know what I mean? Which was, like I said, my god brother. I had another mentor in teaching me how to write, and his name was Stad G. He was an OG in the area. He was writing, and he was like, you know, he was basically I would say our version. If you want to talk about AC in the Ville area, he was like my version of a Cool G rap. You get what I'm saying? He was very lyrical. He knew how to put words together, and like I met him through my god brother, so he kind of like, you know, he put me on to a lot of things that I didn't understand as far as putting words together, and he kind of showed me that. Not only that, I had other people that was like, you know, in my ear about far as like listening to beats and things like that and what will fit my voice. And you know, another DJ was Sean Wright. We called him DJ Abel. He had this big place called the Flow Session, and then that's where all the biggest artists from around the area, ACville, Tri-State, wherever, will come here and they'll just display their skills. And that's kind of when I started really honing in onto what type of artist I was going to be. I can't hear you.
All right, my
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, I can hear you now.
So, um, I want to flash forward with you for a second. So, later on in your career, you began to record. So,
Mhm.
what was it like to step into the recording booth for the very first time?
Man, when I got into the recording booth for the very first time, I was quadruple trash.
You gotta tell me
Yeah,
this story. You gotta tell
yeah.
me this story.
So, all right. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit. I wasn't bad, but I wasn't that good neither. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So how it started was my boy Giovanni, aka Blaze
Hmm.
On. He had his own little studio in his crib. So it was me, my boy Trump Taylor, uh and a few of us, you know what I mean, we would go there and we would record. Now, me, Blaze, and Trump Taylor, we was a clique. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
We was a clique at the time. We was known as the Real Life Clique. You know what I mean? And we was like parading through the schools, battling everybody and stuff like that. So as far as battling, I was legit. Like I could get my words off because you don't need a beat to do that. You know what I mean? So I got my first taste of jumping on an instrumental through going to my boy's spot and recording myself on beat. And I was
Mm-hmm.
terrible. You know what I mean? Like as far as
Mm-hmm.
on beat. Off beat, I sound like the perfect artist when I was off beat, but when I was on beat, yeah, wasn't that good, man. But as time went on, I began to elevate and improve and improve and improve to the point where I just took off.
Okay. Okay. So how did that opportunity for you to well later on in your career, man, you did open up for Fabulous. So how did that opportunity land into your lap? Because that was, I know it had to be an honor for you to open up for somebody like him.
Well, what happened was it was an event that all like tri-state artists was attending.
Hmm.
So it was myself and a few other artists from my area. We went to this event. It was like flyers that was all over the area. So we took this flyer and I seen it and I hit up this event. So we went there. I believe it was in Manhattan and it had everybody was in there. You know what I mean? Anybody that was anybody was in that store. And this happened at a time where well, if you didn't have a cell phone, you was asked out. Let me just put it like that. If you didn't have a cell phone, this was at the flip phone era. Let me just tell you like that. This was around the flip phone era. So we went up in there and I performed a few joints and Fabulous was it was like it wasn't an event for Fabulous, it was like an event that had him performing there and it had a lot of opening acts that was there, you know what I'm saying? So it wasn't just me. It was like a plethora of other artists, you know what I mean, on that bill. I believe even if I'm not mistaken, I believe even French Montana was there. And this is French Montana before he became who he is now. You get what I'm saying? So this was a while ago. But I got the opportunity to do that. You know, I was forever grateful. I didn't even think I would even get an opportunity to do something like that. But I got an opportunity to do that. And you know, it was dope, man. Just seeing a lot of the people that I grew up watching, I got to see them live firsthand, face to face. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it was pretty dope experience.
Yo, that's dope, bar. So did they give you any advice? Like after you went off, wait, after you went off the stage, like did they tell you like, yo, you rocked it, you killed it, like,
No,
or this is what you can work on
I had
as an MC?
I had this one cat that came up to me and he told me basically he said I was dope. He told me there was a few things that I could possibly work on, you know what I mean, as far as like my delivery and you know what I mean, my presentation. But he said overall that the sky was the limit for me if I continue to push my pen because he's seen the talent there. So, you know, I took his advice and I just kept going. You know what I mean? I didn't stop there, you know. Um, it's once in a lifetime when you get a chance and an opportunity to be in an event like that and have all those type of people in one space. You feel me? And I took that, grasp it, and I did what I did, you know, with it. You know what I mean? So it was a pretty dope experience. I enjoyed everything about it. He just told me to keep elevating.
That's dope. So what would you tell a young aspiring rapper out there? Like, I know there's a lot of rappers that are like into like the battle culture, battle rap culture, and all that different stuff. I have a mutual friend. I have a friend of mine that was a part of that battle rap culture, and then he became a pastor later on. So I've
Hmm.
heard a lot of stories about that scene and everything.
Hmm.
So what would you what advice would you give a young aspiring rapper that is saying, you know, I want to do great things. I want to be a great MC out here. How do I do it?
I would just tell him, man, be yourself. You know what I mean? Be yourself. Don't try to go out there and try to be somebody that you're not. And I know it's kind of hard to say that because a lot of times you want to do what's popular. And we all been there. When I first started, I was doing what was popular. You know what I mean? Talking the crazy talk and all that other stuff. You know what I mean? I was doing what was popular. But as I got older and I tend to realize that, that's not me. That's really not my calling. I shouldn't be talking like this. You know what I'm saying? And I kind of got into my bag of being more of a backpack rapper. You know what I'm saying? Just being a lyricist, you know what I mean? Still talking about the struggles, but leaving a lot of that other talk, you know what I mean, for those that been around it like that to talk it. You get what I'm saying? So I stuck to what was me. And once I stuck to what was me, that's when I really started to get a grasp of developing as a real true MC.
That's dope. So we're gonna take a quick little run down to Jabroni Boulevard. We're gonna talk about professional wrestling for a second. So listen, how did professional wrestling find you, or how did you find professional wrestling?
Man, I've been a wrestling fan since I was 2 years old. So wrestling been around me since I was a kid. I actually have an uncle that wrestled in Nigeria, and my mother used to tell me stories about him all the time, and how he was like the champion in that local area of where he was from. Like no one could beat him, and that I just fantasized about it. So I always wondered what wrestling was like. So one day, I was just flipping through the channels of the TV, and this was back then when we had the little tube TVs. We ain't had the little flat screens that you see now, them little light feather joints that you could basically carry around the house all day. We ain't have none of that. We had the big block TV that you had to turn with the dial or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? You had to get up and change the channel. Wasn't no such thing as a remote. If you had a remote, that means you had some bread. You know what I'm saying? So I was just turning through the TV like that, and then I stopped and I see Hulk Hogan. And what was he doing? He was wrestling against two midgets. I'm not lying to you. He's wrestling against two midgets. And I was like, what's this? And I'm looking and I'm seeing, like, at the time I didn't know who the guy was, but I know he was getting jumped by two midgets. So I was like, this is pretty interesting and funny at the same time. So I started watching it, and look, behold, you know what I mean? That's why I got introduced to professional wrestling on the TV. I always used to hear the stories with my uncle about my uncle and whatnot, but that's when I really got introduced to wrestling. And then since then, I was locked in. Like I never missed a show.
Word up. So who was so I know you were a that you grew up during the Attitude Era, or you were around during the Attitude Era. So like who was your favorite wrestler during the Attitude Era?
Favorite wrestler during the Attitude Era, I will have to say was it was honestly, it was a bunch of people, to be honest with you. You know what I mean?
Give
It
me
was
a
a
top five. Give me a top five, Bars. Give me a top five. Go ahead and give
okay,
me a top
so
five.
my top five during the Attitude Era was Stone Cold, Bret the Hitman Hart, Shawn Michaels. For the time that he was around, Ahmed Johnson, and then the last person I will did I mention The Rock?
No, you have not.
Okay, so The Rock at that present time. Uh, then when when Ahmed Johnson, you know what I mean, left, wasn't there no more. I started watching what Farouk was doing. You know what I mean? And then those are like the guys I was paying attention to the whole entire time. Of course,
Mm.
there's the other five that I was watching too. But if you wanted me to lock in on my top five, those are my top five guys I was paying the most attention to. Yeah.
Were you a fan of the ECW guys at all at that point?
Oh yeah, of course. Of
Cause I'm a ECW,
course.
I'm a big ECW head, bro. That's why I'm asking that. I'm an ECW guy.
Yo,
So,
hey, listen, man. Let me tell you something. I went to one ECW show when I was a kid, man,
mm-hmm.
and I was scarred for life. Not scarred like somebody hit me, but I was scarred for
Uh-huh.
life from what I was seeing, bro. I went to an ECW show with a few of my friends. Uh we actually rode up to, and this
Uh-huh.
is when we was young. This is like when dudes first got their license. We rode up to Philly because you know that was the home of ECW, and we went to a show. And I never thought I would see people brutalize each other the way these people brutalized each other. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, yo, is this even humanly possible? I thought this was wrestling. Like, yo, these guys are gonna kill each other. I was like, wow, but I understood, ECW was extreme championship wrestling. The guys that I watched the most, was of course Sabu. I was a man, I was a heavy Taz fan. Taz, that was my guy. Taz was my guy. Like, I like Dean Malenko. Um, uh, I liked a lot of the technical guys. Dean Malenko was my guy. Eddie Guerrero, when he was there, was my guy. The classic match that Psychosis had with Rey Mysterio in the ECW. Uh, the Benoit when he was there, Chris Jericho when he was there, of course Rob Van Dam. Like I could name a bunch of guys that at that particular time were the people. Of course, the Dudley Boys. Of course, the Gangsters. New Jack, man, that dude was crazy. If you ever had the opportunity to go see New Jack in person, you know what I'm talking about. That dude was on one, but he was very entertaining to watch. Um, I could go on a list of a bunch of ECW guys that I was watching, man, but those were like the core individuals that I was paying attention to.
Yeah. See, for those of y'all who do not know, the ECW that I know about, that I grew up on, was the one in the Ruthless Aggression era. I I did not know about this version of it until I got older. And then I realized that there was a lot of history that I did not know. I
Yeah,
knew about so for those of y'all who do not know, ECW used to be Eastern Championship Wrestling. Just
right.
to just to so Eastern Championship Wrestling was a territory that turned into Extreme Championship Wrestling. So
Mm-hmm.
and then Shane Douglas was that first champion and all different stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But how did this love for professional wrestling spark a podcast? Because a lot of people get into the podcast world and they just say, "Well, I just think this is something to do. And I'm just gonna just do this to just take up time and take up whatever spare time I got, whatever downtime I have." What made you want to start a podcast along with your tag team partner Darkwing Dub? How did you find Darkwing Dub as well?
All right, so it's a funny story. So I started doing Bars Wrestling Media podcast back in I believe I started the podcast around the COVID era. And I was doing that podcast and I already had started a podcast before that, which was just mainly doing hip hop, and I did that off my music channel on YouTube. So I was doing that. So I was navigating both shows. I had the EszGotBarz podcast, and then I had Bars Wrestling Media. So I was bouncing back and forth. My mentor in those spaces was my man Funeral Man. Shout out to my boy Reese. That's my big bro. So he was actually, you know what I'm saying, the driving force in as far as me getting into the spaces of podcasting because he already had experience. He was doing a show for years. He's been on radio, and also he rhymed too. So, but that's how I really got into those spaces. and he kind of showed me the ropes on how to navigate on there. And then I did the hip hop thing for the podcast, and then I migrated onto the wrestling, and the wrestling just became my go-to. You know what I'm saying? To the point where like I didn't even do the hip hop podcasting like that. I just focused on the professional wrestling podcasting the whole entire time, and it just became something I just fell in love with. It was just that only.
Wow. So why ring ropes and turnbuckles?
All right, so ring ropes and turnbuckles came like maybe I would say like 5 or 6 years later. What happened was I was kind of really getting popular on TikTok as far as bars wrestling media. That was my go-to. TikTok was my go-to, and I was consistent on there. So what happened was I did the bars wrestling media thing on TikTok for years, and I stumbled. Dub actually stumbled upon my page, and I stumbled upon his content, and I shared his content because I thought his content was pretty dope. So when I shared it, he hit me back, and we started chit chatting from there. Around that time, I already was talking with another cat that I also was possibly thinking about starting a podcast with, and so we was like, why don't all three of us just link up and start a podcast together? You know what I mean? So when that occurred, I started to be the driving force on what type of name we're going to have, what are we going to do with this, what are we going to do with that. And I just used my experience as far as like how we was going to put things together. And then, Dub said, okay, well, he could do this, and the other dude say he could do that. And behold, came up with the name Ring Ropes and Turnbuckle Podcast. And then from there, it just took off. It was like, we was doing interviews. We kind of blew up pretty fast. I didn't expect us to even blow up that fast. Our very first year was probably our best year because we interviewed so many people within that year. I mean, you've seen the resume. We had Ahmed Johnson, we had Savio Vega, we had Buff Bagwell, we've had Odyssey Jones, we've had like a plethora, almost the whole entire Ashe roster to be on our show. You know what I mean? Who else? Like I could go on a long list. We've had Elijah Burke on the show. We've had some guys from NWA, and it became a thing. And me and Dub, our other partner, he eventually fell off. I'm gonna just say he couldn't keep up. You know what I'm saying? And that's another thing too. I want to insert in there, like you gotta put in the work. You understand what I'm saying? This whole content creating thing, this podcasting thing is not for the weak at heart. If you think you're going to come in there and you're just going to go along for the ride, it's not happening. You know what I'm saying? Because it's going to show within your work ethic through your content. You know what I mean? You got to take the time out. You got to produce the content properly, or people going to recognize it and they're going to call you out on it. You know what I'm saying? You got to do your research as far as the news. You got to be artistic. You got to set yourself aside and be different. Those are the things that's going to put you in the proper spaces. So me and Dub continued on, and we just elevated from there. Of course, this year has been kind of like, rocky because of scheduling and stuff like that. But we got a lot of very important things on the way for sure.
Yeah, so what makes the Rainbows and Turnbuckles podcast different from other media spaces?
Well, the thing is, I think what makes us different is our interview style. You know what I mean? With our interview style, we how people like to like ask and be messy. You know what I'm saying? And be like you know what I mean? Just use an example, like they try to label these other dirt sheets and stuff like that when they're looking for drama and whatever. You know how the other podcasters like to be like that. That's what sets us to be different because we're not that. You know what I mean? We're like I would say we're like the barbershop of wrestling podcasts. Like you come in, you getting the shape up, we gonna talk some wrestling. You get what I'm saying? While you getting the shape up, we gonna be asking questions, we going through it. And then if they choose to give us to spill the dirt, we're not gonna stop them. You know what I'm saying? We're not gonna stop them, but we're not gonna be the ones to go and oh yeah, what happened on this day? Nah, we don't do that. We don't do that. You know, it's a natural conversation. You know what I mean? We have a good time, and usually people see the authenticity of what we do, and we usually end up having it go from a 30-minute conversation to a 3-hour conversation. You know what I mean? And until this day, that's been our style, and we continue to use that. And also on top of that, we use our connection that we build with the wrestler as an anchor to get other wrestlers on the show. You know what I mean? As you would see, Dub will ask the question, they would say, yeah, connect us, and then boom. You know what I mean? We start getting more and more people, and that's kind of how we've been, elevating ever since.
Wow. So when it comes to the podcasting world, there are a lot of different um podcasts I listen to, but I love you guys' style in terms of the way you guys interview and stuff. I the way I try to do indie spotlight, I try to make it as cool as you guys' stuff is because I realize how authentic you guys seem and the great conversations you guys seem to have with other people. And with me, I like to have as authentic of a conversation with people as possible because I don't like coming off formulaic. You know what I'm saying? Especially in this WrestleMania space, I want to set myself apart from other wrestling media properties. So with Future Shock, I try to make it very different from all the other properties that are out there.
Yeah, yeah, it's important. It's important to stay authentic and find your style, find your niche. You know what I mean? And it's okay to observe other content creators and ask questions, and then you know what I mean, and kind of like look. It's okay to like pick from here and there and develop your own style. I did that. You know what I'm saying? I did that. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's a few content creators that I pay close attention to because I love what they do. And what they do is authentic to them. You know what I mean? Like you know the spaces we in. Like I watch Chris's joint. I watch Light Skin. I watch Daydream. You know what I'm saying? I watch
Hmm.
Mayor. I watch a lot of those guys, you know what I mean? And they have their own style. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And a lot of those guys during the COVID times and whatever, when Wrestle Talk was at its height, that's how I got familiar with a lot of these folks. You get what I'm saying?
Yes,
And
sir.
it's okay to be observant, you know what I mean, and pick which things that you like the most and kind of develop your own style. I mean, that's kind of life in general. You feel me? Like, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
You go to the store and you looking at the clothing aisle and you see, oh yeah, this a match with this and this a match with that. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Maybe I could go get this and put this together and boom, you got yourself an outfit. You feel me?
Yes,
So
sir.
it's kind of like that. Yeah.
So I remember, I'm just not remembering something. I was preparing for this interview, and I was thinking about your interview with Elijah Burke that you were doing. Dark Wayne Dub did, and you had mentioned about you being a man of faith and how that's impacted your walk and your journey. What what does faith mean to you in this current part of your life, man? I know that was last year, but
Mhm.
how has your faith developed over time? And like for me, I'm a person of faith as well. I believe in the Lord, so
Mhm.
I would love to hear some words of encouragement. And I know my audience would as well because we have some great audience members out here that just would love some words of encouragement.
All right, so first off, I mean, glory be to the man, the most high. My mother was an evangelist. So she wasn't letting her only son escape you know what I'm saying, the escape the grasp of the man upstairs. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
And
sir.
and if you're an African parent, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So she was an evangelist. I grew up 7 Day Adventist. I was a seven
Oh,
day
word?
Adventist. Yeah, I grew up 7 Day Adventist. I was a
I would never
seven.
have guessed that. Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
grew up. I grew up 7 Day Adventist. I was a 7 Day Adventist since I was a child. Since I was born, I was born in a 7 Day Adventist church, and as I got older, it was always about God. You get what I'm saying? Of course, now I go to church on Sundays, but you know what I mean. I still don't divert myself from serving the Most High. You feel me? I ain't perfect. I ain't gonna say I'm perfect. You know what I'm saying? But I have my flaws. But God understands. But like being a man of faith is important. Being faithful in general is important. You know what I mean? It's just certain things that faith does for you spiritually that it could take you through certain transitions. Like I had faith that I was going to be in the space I'm in today financially. I had faith. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
My mother instilled that in me. She prayed on me. She put her hands on me. You get what I'm saying? I had
Mm-hmm.
faith that that was going to elevate me. I had faith that I was going to push forward and be successful. You know what I'm saying? Like it was those things that carried me through even till this day. You know what I mean? And not for nothing, it's easy to lose faith, especially in the society we live in nowadays. But for anybody out there that's watching this podcast, and feel like you're losing all hope, don't do it. Don't lose hope. You know what I'm saying? There's a place for everybody, and like you just need to keep striving, keep elevating. You know what I mean? Faith is the answer to everything. You know what I mean? Spiritually, mentally, physically. And if you're a person of faith, you know what I mean, prayer is the answer. You know what I mean? I don't want to preach or nothing like that, but you get what I'm saying. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
sir. Yes,
And
sir. I
and
definitely get that.
and being faithful is important. Yep.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we got a few more minutes, but I want you to tell us, well, I want to tell the story a little bit of how we came together for the Future Shock Wrestling podcast theme song.
Oh,
Like
so yeah.
just a little bit, because we got some big things coming. But before we get into that big thing, I want to just tell you guys a little slice of that story. So I hit up Bars on his TikTok live, and I was just like, I was strategizing and praying over who to be in this project with me for Future Shock Wrestling, and the Lord led me to Brother Eric Knight of the Truth Nights podcast. And later on, I said, okay, we need music. And I said, well, what musicians do I know that I can call upon? I said, Bars. Like,
Hmm.
so I asked Bars if he would come on and be a part of the project of me being of me doing this podcast, and he graciously consented. And let me know, give me a little bit of a sneak peek of how you worked on that song.
All right. So when I got the message from you, and it was just on the cuffs of me getting my LLC stamped of approval by the state of New Jersey. So it was just on the cuffs of me doing that. And I was anxious. I was very excited on to doing these things and being my own machine as far as like trying to get things done. So when you hit me, I was like, yeah, this is my opportunity to really show what I can do and what I've learned over the years. You know what I mean? So you hit me up. I said, all right. I was like, all right, so this is a ghostwriting project. This is like an official ghostwriting project. So I remember I hit up my boy, and I was like, yo, what do ghostwriters even do? What do they charge? How do they do this? And he gave me advice. Shout out to my boy Rick Sean. So he gave me advice because he had his LLC for a minute. So I was like, all right, bet. So once you gave me the idea, I was like, well, I got the one part down packed because I know I can put words together really well. So it's just about how he wants it done, how you want it done. So I said to myself, I was like, all right, well, all these wrestlers I know already, I've watched them over the years. So I just started studying certain aspects of the wrestler from Jay Lethal to ECW to all the things that I knew that you want me to incorporate within the within the song. And then once I did that, I said, okay, and there was like a web of ideas in a book I just put together. Then when I did those web of ideas, I said, okay, all right, let's see how I'm going to put this together. So I written like I written like at least I say I've written like at least a good 5 or 6 pages worth of material. You know what I mean? And then I picked out the ones that were best suitable for what I was doing. And at that time I already had the beat that was sent to me and whatnot. And I made sure you liked the beat. And then I just started like, carefully crafting it and putting it together. And then once it was put together, I said, you know what? It's time to lay it down. And that's the luxury of having your own studio, which is on a reset right now. This is like my green screen, but behind me is a bunch of stuff. I'm slowly building it into a real recording studio. So getting back to what I was saying, so I started to put everything together. Then before you know that, I send it out to my peoples to get mastered. And then I just, I forwarded to you from there. And then you told me what you want me to tweak. Went back and tweaked that. And there you have it, man.
Yes, sir. So before we hit the outro, I want you to give me your top five. Like if you were to tell me your top five favorite wrestlers, who would they be? And then my last question for you is, how would you approach making a theme song for a wrestler?
All right. So which one you want me to give you first? My you said my top 5 wrestlers as far as now, and then the theme
Oh,
song for the
yes, sir.
wrestler. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Just so like you can do like the theme song for the wrestler first, and then you can do
Okay.
your top five.
Okay. All right. So first off, like I would listen to the original theme song that the wrestler has first. That's what I would listen to. I would listen to the original theme song and I'll listen to it and see what I would say to myself, what could be done better as far as the presentation. You know what I mean? Now I don't knock any other artists on what they do, but I feel like sometimes, especially with these newer artists, they like they don't put the stank on a theme. You know what I'm saying? You want the wrestler to be excited when he hears the theme, and also you wanna put that bravado into the theme. You want to become that theme. You get what I'm saying? When everybody hears that theme, they don't just think of the wrestler, they think of the person that written the theme. You get what I'm saying? That's what I feel like a lot of these themes are missing. So if I'm doing a theme, I'm going to study every single aspect of that wrestler first. I'm not just going to go in and start writing because I know about wrestling. I'm going to study every aspect of this wrestler, the character, the promo work, everything. And then I will go hit the pen and pad. And then I'll go to work. And I not only will create a memorable theme for that wrestler, it'll be a theme that they will cherish for the rest of their wrestling career in life. That's how I would tackle it.
Okay, so Ashe Wrestling, you heard that. Ashe Wrestling, you heard that. MLW, you heard that. NWA, you heard that. All the indie promotions. This gentleman, EszGotBarz, he's your guy. If you want to get a great rap song for your talent, he will give it to you.
Yeah, I got the plugins, man. I got the plugins. Great production, great everything. You hit me up. Come to my page. Let me know what you're looking for, man. We put together a package for you for sure.
Po- Podcasters too, guys. If you want it, listen. I highly recommend bars. I highly recommend them. Like I see, he gave me my this has been the best. Like the reason why you see the good production that you see on the pod is because it starts with the theme song, and that's because of bars. Bars just as much a part of the network as anybody. So thank you so much, bars, for doing
I
that, my good brother.
I appreciate, and not for nothing. The raps are only as good as the actual production. So I gotta give my hats off to my boy Rick Sean because he put that stank on that beat. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm
Yes,
talking
sir.
about. That stank. You gotta put that stank. You gotta put the marinara.
Yes,
Y'all get what
sir.
I'm saying? so
That Lowry season. I get it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm,
yeah,
I,
yeah,
I'm from the South, bro. So like I have to put it like that.
yeah, 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 yeah,
So
yeah.
what I would before we get out here, still tell me your top five favorite wrestlers, and then we're gonna get into your socials, how people can follow you and everything else like that, and then we'll get up out of here.
All right, so my top five wrestlers right now, and it could be subject to change with a few of them. It all depends. But my top five right now are definitely Oba at number one, Oba family, the ruler, the ruler, Oba family at number one, Swerve Strickland at number two, Kevin Knight at number three, MJF at number four, uh, Darius Darius Carter, the villain. You know what I'm saying? Darius Carter at
Yes, sir.
number five, number four, and then number five. Number five is like for me like a toss up. You know what I mean? Because like it's so many people that I've been watching. You know what I mean? That I really enjoy as far as like what they do.
Hmm.
Um, and slowly, you know what I mean. Slowly, I feel like Keanu Carver is starting to like slowly get that fifth spot because I think he has a lot of intangibles that if they continue to push him on NXT, he's going to be one of them guys in the near future. You know what I'm saying? He's definitely real green right now, but you know what I mean? You see the promise in what he does, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir. So tell the people where they can follow you and where they can find you on any platform. And not only just with the wrestling stuff, but with Escott Bar's brand.
All right, so you can follow me on Instagram at EszGotBarz. That's EszGotBarz. You can follow me there, the real Escott Bars. You can also follow Escott Bars. Follow me on Facebook at the same Escott Bars. You can follow Bars Wrestling Media on TikTok at Bars Wrestling Media. You can follow Ring Ropes and Turnbuckles on Facebook, Ring Ropes and Turnbuckle Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram as well, Ring Ropes and Turnbuckle Podcast. You can follow Darkwing Dub, No Cat, on Instagram. You can subscribe to our YouTubes. S Got Bars on YouTube. You know what I mean? That page is under construction at the moment, but I'm going to be relaunching that page with some brand new material. Bars Wrestling Media on YouTube, No Cat with Dub on YouTube, Ring Roast Turnbuckles on YouTube.
All right, that's dope. So there's another edition of the Indie Spotlight. We want to thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Asgard Bars, for always always pointing to me because the moment that you found out that I was doing this podcast, you took every moment to make sure that I was learned about the business and all different things. And I really appreciate that. So it's an honor to have you on, my good brother. But thank you so much for coming on, Bars. And thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Continue to plug into the Power Surge every week. And also continue to walk into the Indie Spotlight every week. You never know who may be coming on. So thank you guys for watching. And I'm going to give you guys a big peace. All right.
Future Shock with your host, Benjamin Dixon. And guess what? You are now plugged into the Power Surge. I'm black with machismo, attraction scream. Watch the arrogance spray, that's the money I bring. Living legend on the charts, that's a FTR. Nigga swerve through the scene, that's just Nana's car. Strutting with the ruler, know the night is young. Clear vision for the sight, know the title won. Let the band play a cut for the dragon, I'm on to it. Combat club for the honor, we grind through it. If you with the smoke, then light a match, let's get lit. Guy just look in the box, but ain't got mix. War dog ready, I got a fix for comp. If you answer the call for the boots, you get stomped. Perfect with the talk, it's timeless. I'm known for malice. It ain't argue rules like a king does. I'm a shed skin and show you legs like snakes. No RKO is coming after the break. You can fall from grace and get buried. Empty every cannon when loose and peel like Mike Bailey. Dark with the sun, I take a bump for real. Every public on tweet when Harley screams, yeah. I'ma need y'all to stop what y'all doing and follow on all social media outlets. You know the vibes, might make the world turn circles. And pay me like I wear one and all like Yoku. Let Oos know that my bloodline thick. MFTs we connect, every brace will stick. Need a Naya on the line, we can dial like Crest. The Mac picking up a baddie like Jay, we said. Who's next with the tango? It's a collar and elbow. Let the beat slap, give me chest like the Big Show. Involved with sickos, I got an ID. From the trenches we evolve, with the straps we free. Hit a match, strike three, I got a pen like ink. Write stories never boring, that's the NXT. You are now tuned in to the Future Shock. Future Shock, Future Shock. Hot takes we debate, it's the Future Shock. Future Shock, Future Shock. IWC, it's the Future Shock. Future Shock, Future Shock. Get your news here first, it's the Future Shock. Future Shock, Future Shock.